Tonight's episode of America's Hometown Horror is brought to you by our friends at Fangoria Magazine. That's right, the first name in Fright since 1979 is now an affiliate of America's Hometown Horror. And because of that, we can now offer you an exclusive 20% discount on any first-time magazine subscription or merchandise purchase by heading over to shop.fangoria.com and using the code HometownHorrorPod at checkout. That's shop.fangoria.com/HometownHorrorPod, or just use the code HometownHorrorPod at checkout for that exclusive discount on anything from Fangoria. Tonight's episode of America's Hometown Horror is also brought to you by our friends at Horror Facts Magazine. Never heard of Horror Facts Magazine? Well, if you're a horror fan, they're a name that you absolutely should know. You can find them over at horrorfacts.com, and they're a great resource for all things horror, including news, reviews, editorials, and lots of other horror podcasts, not only limited to, but including America's Hometown Horror. So head on over to horrorfacts.com and check them out. Now, let's get on with the show. All right, hello, good evening, and welcome into another episode of America's Hometown Horror. Thanks so much for checking back in with us. My name is Mike. I'll be hosting you this evening along with a couple of other bros that I'll introduce here shortly. First and foremost, here's where you can find us on the interwebs. First place is our website, which is apod.com. There's all kinds of fun stuff on there. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram. Just search for America's Hometown Horror, and you'll find us. You can also email us at hometownhorrorpodcast@gmail.com, and you can leave us a voicemail at 508-927-1267. That's 508-927-1267. And of course, as I usually mention, the most important thing you can do for our show is to give us a like, subscribe, and a review, preferably a 5-star review. If you think we do a 5-star job, helps us get out to more horror fans just like yourselves. And last but certainly not least, thanks as always to our buddy Sean O'Laughlin from Skywheel Media, who's now handling all of our audio and music production. And if you have an audio podcast that you're looking to take to the next level, get in touch with us. We'll put you in touch with Shano, and you can be sounding as good as we do. All right. Without further ado, I should probably introduce my fellow co-hosts this evening through this movie that we're going to be talking about, this experience that I had earlier today, which we'll get to before after our news, I should say, and our usual banterings. That would be Mr. Matt Audette and Andrew Byers. Gentlemen, come on down.
I'm giving out my full name, bro.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Doxed. Your Instagram account is your first initial and your last name, and I tag you in every single episode on Instagram.
Perhaps.
People could find it if they really wanted to.
They'll never find me. You're not taking me alive. No.
What's up, guys? How
What
we doing?
We're doing.
Doing good.
What's the dealio?
We made it. It's
We
nice
made it.
out all the time now.
Yes.
Perfect weather, no humidity, just
Yeah,
gorgeous
it's nice
out.
out.
Like, what state are we in? This is
I know.
Massachusetts.
It's gonna rain on Saturday and Sunday, I bet. If I had
It
to
is.
guess. Is it?
It is, yeah. It's going to rain on Thursday, too. Because all it does is rain
That's
on
fine.
Thursdays.
I don't care if it rains on Thursday. I want to go golf.
It always cracks me
Well,
up.
Saturday,
ahead.
it's going to be like showers for like 3 hours from like 11 to 2. And Sunday, I think it's like keeps changing. So
No,
you could probably get golfing.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll be in touch.
It always does crack me up that our first usual 30 seconds of ice breaking and getting into our usual shtick is usually weather talk. We do it every single episode.
We
No,
are.
we need to keep people
just
And I
apprised.
think it's,
New
I think it's
Englanders.
us getting rid of our nervous energy because we've been doing this for a number of years and we still get a little nervous whenever
gotta
the
get the ball
microphone
rolling.
gets
Yeah,
going.
we got to
Yeah.
see where we're going. See if people want to talk about their sweaty balls.
Get the muscles stretched out.
Yeah, let everyone speak fluently. See who's got the slur going. Who's been drinking?
Who's been drinking?
Yeah.
Nobody actually.
Yeah,
I mean,
everyone's been okay today.
I think this might be
Yeah.
my second beer.
Yeah.
tonight,
No,
so.
we behaved ourselves tonight waiting for you. Although I have to say, I tried listening back, I should say, to the Fog episode. And dear listener, if you made it through the entire thing, God bless you. I got through about 20 minutes of it in between me sounding drunk and slow and Andrew just being like, yeah. I was like, I can't listen to this right
I always know when you get good because you close your eyes when you talk.
Uh-huh.
It's like you have to block out one sense to use
Like
another.
think about
Like when you turn the radio down to see the directions. of it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So all right, I'm not shooting for that type of energy
No.
tonight. I think we should all be good.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't feel like this is the type of movie that we're talking about tonight where it's like get drunk and have a
Celebratory.
good time. This is like a really fucking
Just
dark,
get drunk and
depressing-
sit in the shower.
Get drunk
cry.
and ruin someone's life.
Seriously. But anyway, guys, a couple news items before we get into tonight's movie, as we usually do. Perhaps the biggest piece of, so I should say, I've been doing this the last couple of weeks. Not really news, but in the now available at home and at the movie theater type stuff. Guys, dropped from the clouds on June 1st was Godzilla -1 on Netflix,
Right into our little apps.
which is fucking fantastic.
Did we all watch it?
I still have not seen it.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
Oh,
buddy.
I can't wait.
I rewatched it.
Oh, I can't
watched
wait.
it
I've
twice.
seen it 3 times now. It's so.
And
Did you figure out you can watch it with just
Yeah.
Japanese? Okay, I was like,
All right.
because I would not be able to watch it the other way.
so a little inside baseball here. I know that probably when it comes back around to Andrew's turn.
Oh,
shortly,
that's gonna be
it's
my
going to be
pick,
Godzilla
so-
-1, which I'm totally okay with. I want to watch this movie. I have a feeling it probably would have been at the top of my list come the end of last year if I had seen it last year. I'm so happy that it's finally streaming, and I can't believe it took fucking 6 months, 7 months, really.
I'm surprised we got it this soon. I thought it was going to be in the fall.
Wait, hold on, wait a second. It might even be longer than that because you saw it in theaters last
It was
summer,
in December.
No, it was December.
December. Okay, so pretty much 6 months to come to streaming, which is like how it used to be.
Yeah,
for
I was going to
movies,
say that.
which is okay. I kind of like that, but at the same time, like I want to see fucking.
Well, the
Godzilla
thing I like
-1.
about it is it kind of gives you a little more impotence. Is that the word?
I don't think so.
Imp-
that means
Not-
limp penis.
No, impotent. There's a word that sounds like impotent. Impotence, not impotence, not impotence. Well, I'll look it up later. No, I'm telling you, there's a different word. Like it gives you a little more. You should go see it in theaters because you might not see it.
Yeah.
Later.
Incentive.
No, I think it's impotence. Impotence.
IMPEDENCE
Yeah.
I think
instead of
it's incentive.
IMPOTENCE.
I'm
That
99%
That is
sure.
an electron.
you
That is
mean
electric. That is
incentive.
alternating currents. So it's not that word.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
The more important thing is that Godzilla
Get your
-1
hard dick.
is now streaming. All right, so Matthew, you've seen it. Andrew, you watched it for a second or third time? Did you see it
Third,
twice?
this
in
one
I
theaters?
watched it
Yeah.
twice since it came out
Wow.
because I watched it once and then I tried to get Sarah to watch it and she ended up she fell asleep. So
Okay, so obviously
I
we're going to be
watched it.
talking about this in the future. Did you feel it lived up to the hype?
yeah, no, it's fucking sick, dude. It's like the best Godzilla movie I think ever.
Okay.
So
Awesome. I can't wait to
yeah.
see it. Yeah.
I was wondering, like, how many people are actually going to think that. I think that's like universally.
And
true.
I've seen a lot of the old ones too, like the ones that are like they take themselves seriously.
Yeah.
And I like those movies. As goofy as they are, I still think they're enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
They're cool.
Okay.
It's cool to see that time and like what they did with it because it was fucking real back then, dude. Back in the 50s in Japan, like there's a lot going on, dude. Like
yeah.
they were going through it, and to make a movie like that was, but like it was like world shattering. So this was sick. This was like it felt like that. It feels like an old movie. It's got the old music, the old sound effects. It's
Oh, the
fucking
old. I love the old music.
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah, it's awesome. I can't wait to see it. And am I of the correct understanding that you can also watch this in black and white on Netflix as well?
Oh no, I didn't know that.
I don't
wish.
know if you can on Netflix.
I thought I saw that you can.
Well, I'm gonna
I
be
could be
buying.
wrong.
I'm gonna be
I
buying the
didn't see
collector's
that.
edition when I have the chance.
I will
black and
definitely
white.
get
Yeah,
it.
it's definitely
So let's talk about this. So Andrew has joined along with Matt on the physical media train recently, correct?
Yeah, I gotta.
Have you bought a
figure out
DVD
something-
player yet?
I haven't yet, but I gotta figure out a way to spend all the money that I used to spend on cigarettes and spend it on something else now.
Fair
For a
enough.
new addiction. So yeah, I just bought the 5-disc box set of The Fly, all the original ones, and then the two newer ones, and then I bought a 7-disc set of Vincent Price movies, which had both Dr. Phibes.
That
on
looked
there.
like it was a DVD.
Those are regular DVDs.
Okay.
Yeah,
you
those
should
are.
still be able to play those.
Yeah, I just like the artwork, and then I bought Phantasm 1 and 2, obviously.
So now you're going to be purchasing a shelf where you can display.
Yep. See,
I
that's
did.
next.
I exited our chat last night
Mm.
and texted
Yeah.
Andrew personally because I was like, Mike's gonna be like,
It's
shut
okay.
the fuck up.
It's okay. I was doing the final night of Kat's birthday shenanigans at my in-laws' house and having Venus 2 pizza in
Ooh.
Brant Rock. Which is fantastic. Obviously, it's great.
Better than 1 or 3.
I know one of them is in Pembroke, and I don't know where the other one
Whitman
is.
Hanson, I
Yes,
think,
so
yeah.
it's all bar pizza. I haven't had from the other ones, but the
3 is
Marshfield
good.
one is fantastic.
Okay.
So it's good pizza. We get it a lot in when we go to her parents in Marshfield. But that was the I'm hoping the last celebration of her birthday, because she pretty much had Thursday,
Ever?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and technically she's out tonight. So it's like almost a full
It goes the
fucking
whole month,
week.
bro. You know how it goes.
I know how it goes. But anyway, she did have a very good birthday for those of you that do care. But
That's
hey,
awesome.
that's a roundabout way of saying that Godzilla -1 is now streaming on Netflix. So go fucking watch this movie and come back in a couple weeks when we talk about it on this
Yes.
show. In addition to that, Andrew, I will be watching, in addition to Godzilla -1, Frogman. It's now streaming on Screambox. I can't fucking wait to see this movie. I know you recommended it. You said I would love it.
Oh, you have
and
Screambox?
I think I might.
It's another really low money subscription. It's like $4.
Yeah, it's cheap. It's very cheap. It's not like a
I
Netflix
might actually
subscription.
have that.
You can get it through Amazon.
Yeah, I think I actually do have that.
Okay. So anyway, I mean, fucking frog people, absolutely. Give it to me all day
Give it
long.
to me
Ribbit.
now.
But speaking of now available, talking about in theaters, Andrew and I were talking about this as of this recording. If you haven't seen In a Violent Nature at this point, you're probably not going to see it in theaters, but it did debut with a $2 million box office hit in theaters, which is pretty good
Yeah, it was limited release.
for a limited release
Yeah.
like that. I guess it was released around 1,426 theaters in the U.S. Made an impressive $2.1 million.
Just another one of those movies
for
Mike,
like,
that's
and
getting
it
a lot
only
of,
played for like 3 nights.
Yeah.
big discrepancy.
Falling just shy of
Discrepancy.
Late Night with the Devil, which made $2.8 million in its box office release. So I think if I'm not mistaken, In a Violent Nature will be coming to Shudder at some point.
Correct.
I think so.
That
So
is
I
correct.
will absolutely be checking that one out when it comes to Shudder
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
at
it.
some point in
Oh,
the
yeah.
very near future.
I got a couple more I got to check out. I still got to watch The First Omen now that that's available.
Yeah, that's on Hulu now.
Oh, that's on Hulu. No
Yes.
shit.
I
Okay.
gotta watch Stop Motion. I guess that's a pretty cool one.
So
That's on Shudder.
sounds like you also listen to Colors of the Dark as well.
Yeah, and it's just I keep seeing people doing reviews for it and everything. So
Yeah.
I do want to watch it. It interests me, but I was like, I'm not going to spend $20 on this movie. That I'd rather buy a movie for $20.
Hey, dude, you
Yeah.
only have so much money. You know?
That too. Yeah.
So you gotta kind of pounce on
renting
stuff
a
on-
movie for $20 is just fucking.
That has to be
outrageous,
something that
dude.
I want to see really, really, really.
Yeah, well, I rented Civil War. I would recommend not doing that.
Oh yeah, talk to
Oh,
us
you didn't
about
like
that
it?
a little bit.
It was fine. It was very kind of.
I heard it's pretty bleak.
It was bleak. It was just very vanilla. It didn't really like do anything to make. It was almost like you see Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
It's basically like you're following this
Like
group from the press.
Journalist, like
Yeah,
freelance.
freelance journalists that you're following basically.
The other thing, isn't it like Texas teams up with California?
Yeah, they're very. They don't get into any politics really.
I was
There's
gonna
no
say because that
politics.
doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, I don't understand how that works. There's certain force. They don't really get into any of that. They don't tell you how it started, why it started, any of that. It's just
that it is
basically-
happening.
It's just that it's happening. It's a story. So I get like it's
Is it
kind of nice
violent?
to. It's yeah. There's some pretty violent.
Yeah.
Parts at least like.
Is it like upsetting at all, or are you just?
I
You're
was.
just,
I
like,
mean,
you're just watching people die.
are we
and you're just
comparing
like,
it to Henry Portrait of a
"Fuck." No,
Serial Killer?
no. But I mean, like,
So-
is it like a war movie?
Yeah, there's there's a lot of flashbacks that she has to her times. Kirsten Dunst's character when she was a war photographer, like in other nations when there was wars going on.
It doesn't say like what war she's at.
Didn't really get into like what war she
Gotta
was
be
at.
like Afghanistan. and
Yeah,
Iraq,
stuff like that. And like I think there was one in Africa
Okay.
that she was taking pictures of, and the photos she gets are just so disturbing. Like it's one of like they like basically put like a tire around a guy and then lit him on fire. And she
Yeah,
got a
it's
photo
tough.
of him like on fire. And it's like, sure, her basically like the reason she became a war journalist was to show people what war's really like
Yeah.
and that you don't want to have that over here. And yet we still ended up having it. So
Interesting.
it's an interesting concept. It's a fine movie. It's one of those movies though that I'm honestly 2 months from now I'll forget that I even watched.
gotta watch it. Is it long? I haven't
It's
even
pretty.
looked
I
at
think
it
it's
at all.
like an hour and 45. It's not long.
Really?
Yeah, it's not very long.
You would think that something like
It
that would be
seems like it would be a
2.5
longer
hours
movie.
long.
And it moves pretty good. It's not. It doesn't really drag too much.
That's fine.
Uh,
Yeah, no, I do want to watch it.
Great.
I
It's
like-
very
yeah.
well acted. It's a fine movie. I'd give it like 3 out of 5. It's nothing
Yeah.
special.
It's another thing that I'm like, I'm not gonna spend. I can wait.
no, that's what I'm
another
saying. I
month
wouldn't have
and-
spent the
yeah.
$20 on it. I would have just waited.
I almost did. I thought about it, but I'm like, no, because Sarah runs our Amazon Prime, so she always gets mad because I rent movies on it all the time.
Yeah.
She's like, what are all these like $4 charges? I'm
Then
like,
she's a $20 one.
Yeah.
The fuck is
Yeah.
this? What is this?
Watching porn?
Yeah. What are you watching? Porn? Kind of. It's a horror movie. No.
Yeah. I'm just renting like fucking Night of the Demons 3.
Exclusive edition.
All right, so Civil War, and if I remember correctly, does HBO Max have the rights to all the A24 stuff?
Yeah,
so it'll probably be
It'll
there.
probably be on
Yeah.
Max. Yeah, it'll be on Max. So I'll certainly be checking that one out whenever it does come to Max. All right, let's talk about some news here real quick. We have been reporting, or not, we're not reporting, but I guess giving updates on the Welcome to Derry TV series over the past few months. Kind of seemed like it was dead in the water for a little while, but apparently it is very much moving forward. And there was a big piece of news that dropped last week that Bill Skarsgård will be returning to play Pennywise in the Welcome to Derry TV series, which I think is obviously the correct move.
Yeah, it was up in the air a little bit.
How could you make this series without having Pennywise or without having him play Pennywise? Because that's what made those two movies so iconic.
Just Shia LaBeouf.
Oh my God, I'd fucking die. It would be unbelievable if that was the case.
Could be great.
Apparently, it's still going to premiere sometime in 2025, and it's going to take place. What's the disparity in years between Pennywise?
I
stuff?
think it's
28,
27 years.
27,
Okay,
yeah.
27
Something like that,
years. Yep. So that makes me very optimistic.
So
about
it's
this TV
before
series.
that, right? 27 years.
yeah.
So it's set
Yes.
before the first movie.
But that technically is like when the
20s?
original 1990 series was.
Correct.
So is it taking place like the 1920s then?
I think, I don't know.
Because
Yeah,
wasn't
I'm
the
not
first
quite
one
sure.
taking place in the 50s?
And
Well,
it takes
in the
place
book,
the
but I think in the first movie that was clearly supposed to be taking place in like the 80s or the early 90s, like late 80s,
No.
early 90s.
That was the 50s?
when they're kids, that was like the late 50s.
Wait, you're talking about the most recent
The
movies?
miniseries.
The miniseries.
The miniseries,
Tim
yes,
Curry
yes,
one.
yes. I'm talking about the two.
No, that was
two
the
movies.
80s and then modern day.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Oh, so they're
yeah.
doing in that.
Yes,
So then this would take
So
place
prior to that.
correct.
in the 50s then.
So like the book.
Okay.
Correct.
So now the 20s would be cool. See him, yeah.
Well, that's
see,
in
it's
the
like-
book. There's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
about like well before what happens. There's a lot of fucked up shit that happens in Derry before these kids encounter Pennywise that really drives a lot of the horror of the story.
Right.
So I'm curious if we're gonna see like that like black nightclub, like they have like that really fucked up chapter about it like having a fire.
Yep.
There's like this like Easter egg hunt that fucking there's someone like bombs it or something. Like it's pretty fucked up. There's a lot of like really, really graphic like mass casualty situations that happen.
Yeah, the novel is really
It's
fucked
really
up.
brutal.
Cool
Yeah.
if they did like Pennywise during the age of the dinosaurs and just Pennywise causes
Well,
the death of the dinosaurs.
I mean, he is
He's
part
just
of
dancing
the
around. He's
creation
like,
of the universe. So
Yeah.
Could
Yep.
be. That'd be an interesting concept.
It's-
that's
it's a
good
lot,
B
dude.
movie.
Yeah. it would, yeah. I mean, yeah, it'd be a lot.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I'm excited personally. I
Yeah,
will
no,
certainly
definitely.
check this TV series out. I hope it's good.
Me
To be honest, guys, we also, as of this recording right now, you can, if you have a video game console or a PC and you're a gamer, you can download and play the Killer Clowns from Outer Space video game that has been in development for the last year or so.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yep, it's one of those asymmetrical shooter games, like set
Okay.
up like almost like the Friday the 13th game or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre
Right.
game was, where basically you're either playing as one of the victims or you're playing as
And you're getting away.
as one of
yeah.
the clowns, and you're either killing or running away from them.
I've never played any. I'm not admittedly, I'm not a big video game guy.
Mhm.
Just I don't have the time.
Same.
But I have heard that Friday the 13th and the Leatherface game were both a lot of fucking fun. They were very hyped up to be a fun
Yeah.
game to play. So
What are those newer games or are those?
within the last 10 years, I think
Oh,
they
okay.
existed. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like Fortnite was a big, influence on a lot of these games.
Oh, gotcha.
I know you guys aren't big video game players, but
I know what
mean,
Fortnite
I know what
is.
that
I
is,
played
yeah.
Call of Duty
I'll-
during COVID.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. I played Call of Duty back in like 2007.
I'm hoping to check this out because apparently, like the Kyoto brothers were actually really involved in the development of this game. It's got a lot of the locations from the first movie. It's supposed to be really faithful to the movies. It looks really cool. So I don't know. We'll check it out. We'll see, or I hope to. I hope to check it out and
You're gonna
see
buy that Jaws Unleashed
if
game
I
for
have.
PS2.
Oh my god! So
I never even knew that was a game.
Yeah, as I was telling you, I still actually do have a PS2 hooked up into my, sound system.
I have an
and
Xbox
home
360
theater
too, yeah.
system over there. I have an Xbox One, a PS2, and a Wii. So I've been trying to collect all of the old PS2 horror games, mainly the Thing game that came out several years back. I haven't been able to find it yet because it's so fucking expensive. Bowser's Basement downtown, by the way, does not have it. So
I was gonna say that, but I imagine that would have been your
Yep,
first place.
I've already checked. They don't have it. So I don't know. I guess we'll see if this Killer Clowns from Outer Space game is any good, and I will report back. All right, next topic. Andrew, I tailor-picked this one, or tailor-made this pick just for you. Apparently, announced today, Peach Fuzz is back. As Mark Duplass has announced that the Creeps, the Creep movies, is going to continue in a TV series called The Creep Tapes.
Interesting.
How do you feel about that?
I'm down. I can always get more of that,
Okay.
especially if he's involved. So
Yep.
yeah. Why not?
Apparently, he announced it on TikTok today.
Do we know where that's going to be on? What channel? Which,
Let's see. This is an
streaming
update
service?
as of today at 4 p.m. The mysterious project teased by Duplass revealed to be called the Creep Tapes, a television series expansion of the Creep film franchise. And each episode exposes a new victim from one of the fabled Creep tapes. So it's going to be an
Ooh.
anthology series almost, with basically that character as the one running thread through the entire thing, which I think is a very good way to tackle it, if
Right.
we're being
It's
honest.
like the Poughkeepsie tapes.
Ooh.
Probably
Love it.
better.
Okay.
Poughkeepsie?
Poughkeepsie tapes.
Did I say it wrong?
Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie.
Well, it's like carrot. Carrot.
That's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, why would anybody
Impotent.
spell it that way if they didn't want
Poughkeepsie.
if they didn't want it to be pronounced
Poughkeepsie.
that way?
Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie. Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie.
Yeah. Sounds like my favorite dish from an Italian restaurant.
All right. Last but certainly not least, guys, have we had a chance to watch the new Alien Romulus trailer that
Oh, I
dropped
did watch
today?
it.
I did.
You sent it
Yeah.
over. I didn't see it.
Okay, Matthew, what do
Yeah.
you think?
Looks great. I'm into it. It's exact. I mean, like this is because you had mentioned that you thought it kind of was like maybe gave a little too much away. I remember when we talked about this months and months ago, how this was a trailer that I don't mind watching because I'm like, I know what I'm gonna get from an Alien movie. I'm gonna get some fucking base huggers. I'm gonna get some chest bursters. I'm gonna get a xenomorph. Like,
Yep.
it's pretty formulaic how it goes. So I
Sure.
it's just you don't really see who gets what. Yeah, and if you do, it's like fucking whatever, dude. I hope they all get it. That's what I'm going there to see. Fede Alvarez thing's gonna be a fucking bloodbath.
Oh my god,
So-
yeah. There was one particular scene in the trailer that I looked at that looked like it was going to be a little bit different with some sort of chest burster scene. Watch the trailer if you want to know more about it. If not,
I know what you mean. Yeah,
it looked really cool. It looked like they're doing a good job of blending, and this takes place between Alien and Aliens, so between the Ridley Scott and James Cameron films.
who's that? It's him, James Cameron.
James Cameron. It looks cool though. I mean, the xenomorph looks fantastic. It certainly looks like they're doing a lot of practical effects with this,
Mhm.
which is awesome. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. It comes out in August 16th,
Yep.
I believe. And I will be going to see this on opening night,
Nice.
gentlemen. This
Yep.
is about one of the few horror things that I will like. Yeah, it's not an option. Sorry, Kat. I'm going
Oh,
opening night.
100%.
Yeah, 1,000%.
I will tell you,
If it sucks, I'm gonna be so broke. I'm gonna be so
won't. It's not
heartbroken.
gonna
suck.
I don't think it's gonna suck either.
the main character in Civil War, Kaylee Spaney, is the actress's
Mhm.
name. She's, I think, the main character in this movie.
Yep.
So she was really good. So I think that's
Good.
The acting should be good. She was.
You
Awesome.
get like a quick little tease of like what her story might be. It's her and one other character saying like, "Hey, do you want this to be the rest of your life?" No, I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, then we need to leave right now and go and try and do this. And that's apparently how all these people run into the alien. So
Gotcha.
we'll see how it goes. But I for one, am very much optimistic about Alien Romulus. And I
Yeah.
hope it's good. If it sucks, I don't think it will. I will be very disappointed. Guys, any other news items before we move on to tonight's feel-good barrel of laughs of a movie?
I don't think so.
I got nothing.
Fair enough. All right, so we'll be right back to talk about Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. But first, we're going to take a pause for a quick word from our sponsors, We'll be right back.
It's official. The critics' decision is in.
Spooky World is spectacular.
Enter the new black hole.
If you dare.
Or the new horror House of Wax. This year, don't miss the real Jason, Bobby Pickett, or Alice Cooper. Phone the 24-hour Spooky World hotline. 508-838-0200. That's 508-838-0200. Spooky World is just west of Boston and haunts every night from October 1st till November 1st. If you had the nerve, you'd phone 508-838-0200.
It's America's horror theme park. Spooky World. Sleepy Clovers.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
The new face of evil is going to scare you to death. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. It's killer this year. Then creep next door to the Abington Ale House. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. Eat, drink, and be scary. Go to bhmansion.com.
All right, we're back. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. We certainly appreciate it. All right. So, as I teased on the other side of that break, we are here to talk about Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, which is a 1986 American independent psychological horror crime film directed and co-written by John McNaughton about the random crime spree of a serial killer who seemingly operates with impunity. It stars Michael Rooker in his film
impotence.
debut. Not impotence, impunity. Stars Michael Rooker in his film debut as the nomadic killer Henry, Tom Towles as Otis, a prison buddy with whom Henry is living, and Tracy Arnold as Becky, Otis's sister. The characters of Henry and Otis are loosely based on the convicted real-life serial killers, which makes it even more horrifying, of Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole. Oh my God, goo. This film, by the way, was shot on 16 millimeter film in 28 days with a budget of $110,000. It initially earned $600,000 on its extremely limited theatrical run, but has since gone on to earn millions on VHS and DVD, as well as the theatrical re-releases. This, by the way, finished at number 2 out of 10 in the third edition of Bravo's 100 Scariest Movie Moments in 2009. Did not place on Shudder's 101 Scariest Horror Movie Moments. And it is available right now to stream on Tubi, Peacock, Amazon Prime, and I would say probably a bunch of other places.
Freebie.
Freebie was another one that I saw. That's
I watched it on
correct.
Peacock. I knew
I
it
did
was on
too.
there.
Yeah, I watched it on Peacock.
Peacock!
So, all right, gentlemen, let's talk about Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. And Matt, this was your pick. I will let you lead off, my friend. Why did you pick this movie? Why do you like it? Elaborate, Montfrere.
Well,
Explain yourself.
yeah, no, I wanted.
Explain yourself.
We all knew I wanted to go with some darker movies this year.
Has been your main goal for this year.
Yeah, there'll be some like. There's gonna be times where I'm gonna like go off the rails and pick something else, but I like this movie, man. I like how it's made. I like how fucked up it is. There's something incredibly scary. It's a scary fucking movie. I truly think this is like a very, to its core, horrific horror movie. It deserves to be talked about. It's I think if you're a horror guy, horror lady, horror fanatic, must watch. Gotta sit through it one time.
At least. Yeah, got to see it once. Yep.
I give this a rewatch at least once, twice a year.
That's the craziest thing to me. That's like
Mike's like, you're a
that's like you're a
sicko.
fucking sick fuck. I can't believe that.
Maybe I'm desensitized too because I've seen it a few times. So Mike's coming off this first time.
Raw
my
dog.
first time.
Watch today.
This
So-
is probably one of the few times I would say this is the first time I've seen a movie that we're talking about. Maybe not one of the first times, but like recently, like, I don't know, like
It's been a bit.
yeah,
yeah,
it's been a
you
little bit.
usually
yeah,
you've usually seen things before.
yeah. This one
Um,
was
I was
this a lot.
surprised you hadn't seen this, to be honest.
Yeah,
And I don't know why. I
I'll-
should have
I'll-
figured you would.
I'll get to it. I want to let Matt finish first.
I like the music in it. It's very 80s, but it's also very like it's creepy as hell. It reminds me kind of Nightmare on Elm Street. Because
good
Nightmare on Elm
that's a
Street
good
has fucking
comparison.
great creepy soundtrack.
It really does. Yeah.
But there are scenes in this movie that are obviously extremely violent and really fucking intense. But there's other scenes that are very subtle that I find to be almost scarier. It's the the human element of the people that are committing these kinds of things that you see outside of it. And like and the other thing too is like the scenes of Henry just driving down the street and there's like children on the sidewalk walking with their mom. It's like, dude, like there's those people fucking drive by you. Like they exist and they're out there, and like bad people are just like you pass them by every day.
That's one of the most wildest things to think. How many times do you think you've come across someone that has murdered somebody?
You probably, I don't know, probably
don't
maybe
even know.
once a day. If it's not, it doesn't not necessarily like to kill, like, but somebody, like, you know what I mean? Like they could have killed somebody in any
Or
way,
they
shape, or
saw
form.
somebody get killed.
Yeah, like, you know what I
Like,
mean? So
it happens all the time. Like even with our work, it is sometimes we'll look up people and like, Jesus Christ, it's
Yeah.
fucking insane.
but I think this movie is very well made. For it's gritty as hell, but it's like you believe every second of every portrait, like every acting portrayal. It's not cheesy. There are a couple lines that are actually like laugh out loud funny. Mostly a lot of it comes from the TV salesman. But
Great scene.
The way it's set up and just portrayed, like I said, it's just like you kind of get this like behind the scenes, and like we'll circle back to what I mean a little later once we kind of dive into it. But I just, there's something about it just scares the hell out of me, and I think I just respect the movie for that, and it's why I enjoy it. Like I like to come back to it and just kind of give it another watch. And like I said, I'm desensitized to it at this point. It's by no means is this anywhere close to like the most devastating and fucked up movie I've ever seen.
Sure.
But it's fucked up.
Yeah.
It's harsh. It's mean as hell. And it pulls no punches. You're exposed to some pretty graphic stuff, and you see the real underbelly of just like bottom barrel American society, and that sucks. It has a lot to say about that. And that was only in the 80s. So yeah.
So I did read when I was doing some research for this film that John McNaughton, the director, did intentionally make sure there was not one police officer, police car, police siren, anything related to police in this entire movie, because he wanted it to feel like you were in a lawless
just
society.
no one can help you.
And he captured that feel, like, for sure. This is this was definitely a difficult watch for sure. It was listen, I watch a lot of horror movies for this podcast, so I feel like, and you've thrown a good amount of disturbing horror stuff at us this year. I feel like that's been your mission statement, as you said. So it there's not a ton of stuff that really, really, really bothers me. This movie really bothered me.
Is this the one so far? This is the big one so far for you?
I
like that. I respect that.
I feel like I got
That's
zero
fair.
enjoyment out of it. I have zero desire to rewatch this movie again. Behind the scenes, I have a little bit going on in my life right now, so I wasn't in the best headspace when I watched this, and I was just the whole time I just felt gross. But again, that's the intention of the filmmaker, right? Like it's intended to make you feel gross. It feels grimy and just like fucking
so
disgusting. And
even last night, because I rewatched this last night, and even when I watched it last night, like I said, I'm gonna kind of circle around to that like humanity aspect of it, and that was the one scene rewatching it that really like got under my skin, and just like there was like it made me anxious. And like that's like I understand what you mean. It's you're like you're like fuck, dude. Like you just want to like wash your own, like you just want to take a shower after it's over. You're just like, I just need to like get rid of that whole movie for a little while.
It's also a good job of filmmaking, because the two main characters in this are despicable, disgusting human beings. But you ultimately, when you're watching it, find yourself sympathizing with one over the other, because one is more disgusting than the other.
One of them has,
and one
some morals.
Might have a little bit of a moral compass, allegedly a little bit, which I guess, more on that later. And it's just like, the most disturbing thing to me, again, as you said, as a guy with a child now, is that there are people driving around in everyday life that
would hurt a child.
Yes, and that to me, I think it's not really like an indictment on the film. I still like it's a well-made film. It's the acting in this for me was just far and away the best part. Michael Rooker is phenomenal. I've been a big fan of his for a really, really long time, and I just had somehow never seen this movie.
His presence in this movie is
the fact that
frightening.
This is his first film role. Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. It's just unbelievable. And he's been in so many good things. But yeah, it's a tough watch. But again, it's one of those movies, we've talked about it a lot. Like if you are a hardcore horror fan and a horror completionist, this is one that you have to see at least once. And for me, I swallowed that pill. You know what? I didn't really like it very much, but hey, just because something makes you feel uncomfortable and feel awful, that's the intent of the movie.
Yeah.
So it's not really an indictment on the movie itself, which is what I'm trying to separate from my feelings here. So
I think it's important to remind yourself that bad things happen.
Yeah.
I think it is important. There's a lot of people that I think kind of go around and they eliminate any sort of like negative concepts from their life or their mind. And I don't think that's a good thing.
No.
I don't.
You got to always be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
Take this for instance.
You have to just have like, and it's not necessarily like, I'm not saying like, you got to watch awful things just to like bum yourself up, but like you have to acknowledge that they exist. And I think it's good to feel that every once in a while. Like it's like watching like people like will talk like Requiem for a Dream. I like using this as an example because I think it's one of the most important movies ever made. Because it has such a powerful message, but it's like you have to see that movie, and I think that movie would change at the right age. That could change the trajectory of a person's life.
Yeah.
So it's like certain things like certain things like that. You need to be exposed to how bad
the world's a bad.
Not everything is sunshine and rainbows.
Well, it's like my niece recently. She's like 17.
Good age to watch Requiem for a Dream.
She went with her friend. They drove to get weed to fucking Brockton at like 10 o'clock at night to like a terrible area. I'm like, where are you going?
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't be doing that. Like that's the thing. Like you need
dispensaries
to know.
exist.
There's dispensaries exist.
Yeah,
you need to know that there's certain places you shouldn't go. And I think being clueless to like how bad the world actually is.
Yeah.
That would, if you had seen this movie before, you wouldn't do that.
No.
You couldn't pay me to do that. No. And I'm a fucking 40-year-old man.
Yeah.
Essentially. And you couldn't pay me that. Like have some sense of your surroundings and don't do stupid shit.
Yeah.
The world's an awful place.
I did
Kids
a lot
do
of stupid shit when I was
yeah.
a kid.
So Andrew, I'm assuming you had seen this movie before, correct?
At least 4 or 5 times, maybe more.
Oh wow! Okay, so you're a.
I like this
yeah,
movie.
wow!
I think it's a really good.
You guys are both sick fucks. All right, so Andrew, talk to us about
a lot of what Matt said. Like it's just so grimy and it's so it's so well done that I think being such a low budget helps this type of movie.
Yeah,
because it really is important that they tell a good story to make you enjoy the movie. It
could have been bad.
Yeah,
it's not a bad movie by any means at all.
No, it's not a bad movie at all.
I didn't mean to say that. Like,
no,
I certainly don't think it's a bad movie. It's just a movie that
the content is.
You can tell that it's a low budget movie. You can tell, but they do such a good job. Well, the acting carries this movie. Obviously, right. Like it's basically 3 characters.
That's it.
Yeah. Everyone else,
you got the TV guy and like a parole
yeah.
officer really quickly, and
they're just flesh to be killed. Yeah. Basically. It's one of those movies that just sits with you for a while, and then something will make you think about it, and you'll be like, "Oh, maybe I'm going to watch that movie again." And then you remember why you watched it because it's just there's something about it. Like it's a sick fucking movie, but there's something about it that it gives it to me. It does give it a rewatch value, and I don't know exactly what it is. Right. I think maybe it's Michael Rooker's performance. Also, I forget the guy's name who plays Otis. He's phenomenal.
He is.
He was actually I realized because I thought for a second I was like. I got him confused with Sid Haig, but he's actually in House of a Thousand Corpses. He's the cop.
Yes, he's one of the police officers.
I was like, that's that guy. Okay. There's like certain parts that I find really well done, and it's like they do it a few times throughout the movie. They do it like 3 or 4 times at the very beginning of the movie where they show like the dead body that he had just killed,
and all you get is the sound.
All you can hear is like the sound of like the struggle. and it's so fucking well done. It's so creepy and eerie, and it just like makes your skin crawl.
Yeah, you're just seeing this body that's like either bloated, floating in a like it's
Yeah,
not. It's like a reserve.
It's like right by a river,
yeah,
or like a reserve.
reservoir. Yeah,
And then the same one when he's like stalking that woman home, and then they find
From the
the shows
mall.
her. Yeah, and they show her like strangled downstairs.
see that one is scary to me too because
That's
you watch
horrifying.
him kind of like ping pong around the parking lot,
Any one of those
and like
people
he's
could have
like
been-
something
one.
something that they do like puts him off.
yeah,
That he's like, nope, not the one. And it's just like, dude, at any given moment in any day, anyone can just be watching everything you're doing in public, and you just don't even realize they're fucking following you around.
yeah.
And
it
it's just like it's just fucking scary, dude. Like
it does a really good job of the cities during that time period.
Chicago,
Because like Chicago, same thing with New York. Like those were like trash holes. to
Well, it
live in
reminds
that
me
time
of
period.
Maniac.
Maniac.
Yeah,
And it's like we had all that scares from the 70s when everyone was just doing whatever the fuck they wanted to do in
Yeah.
the cities. And like the only people that lived in the cities were like pretty much the people that had to.
yeah.
Like these poor sacks that are living in the city in this horrible apartment. Just and they're all put
It
there.
is a gross
They're all in
apartment.
had an awful upbringing in their life. So you do feel some sort of a glimpse of sympathy for these
You
people.
do,
Very
yeah.
small amount.
You're
Mostly
getting
more
nurture
for one
versus nature.
one character specifically.
Yeah.
The Otis's sister.
Becky.
Obviously, you feel a lot of sympathy for with her thing, but you feel. I mean, it's similar. I mean, Henry and Otis, they both had fucked up upbringings. So you don't know how fucked up they're.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't excuse any of their behavior.
If I may, I feel like Henry, at least as despicable as the things that he does are, has at least some sort of a moral compass, if you will, as I put that in quotations.
Yeah. But it's like
But I do think-
It's like they're both disgusting characters. Otis is the worst character.
he's quick to
by
kind of
far.
disregard it though.
So
Yeah,
I think they
yeah.
did a really good job with Henry, though, in particular one scene, because he's based off of the confession killer, who knows what he actually did, who he actually murdered, is the one where he's talking
I have
about
Smith
killing,
on that.
killing
we
his
can get to
mother.
that, Yeah.
and he changes his story 3
Yeah,
times.
I was gonna say Henry's unreliable because when
Unreliable
you hear
narrator
him, he's
to-
got
to a
this,
T.
like you said, he's got this moral, but then again, he's quick to go in and like kill a fucking family.
Yeah, he's definitely killed people, but he probably hasn't killed as many people.
It seems like his main thing is he stops at any sort of like sexual assault. That's where he draws the line.
Yeah, based on what
Yeah.
he experienced.
Which is
growing up.
which that's Otis's big thing is to move forward on something like that.
Yeah.
Don't be besmirching my dog, buddy.
But the
Otis,
but the
no.
scene where he's telling Becky about killing his mom and he switches the story up about how he stabbed her. Oh no, he shot her.
Twice.
Yeah, and then and like Otis said that he killed her with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
So it's like and then that's the thing to me is like because she's like, oh, I thought you said you stabbed her, and he's like,
Oh, did I?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. And it's just his own mom is just such a non-person to him that he doesn't even remember the way he killed her because he's killed so many fucking people.
Yeah.
That it's just to him, it's just another piece of shit that he killed.
Yeah.
And it's just like, damn, dude, like it's just like it's dark. Like that character study. I wouldn't call this movie a character study because there's a lot going on, but you get brief glimpses of like how it could be possibly go in that direction. And that conversation is one of them. And then the conversation he has with Otis after he kills the two hookers in the car, Otis is all bent out of shape. And this is like one of the things that like this line always cracks me up when they go after Otis is kind of mortified and it cuts to them and they're like sitting parked eating cheeseburgers. And he's like, you feel better? And he's like, yeah, a little bit. And he just like, it's quiet. And he's just, Henry does not stop staring at Otis the entire time. Otis just watched Henry kill two women, which it doesn't seem like Otis has ever killed anybody.
No, I think that
for sure.
he hasn't at that point.
And so he's pretty shocked and he's panicking. Something bad's going to happen. He's like, nothing's going to happen. Nothing happened. Move on from it. Like, and that's kind of
Have
how he
some
deals
French
with it.
fries.
Well, that's the thing. He goes, do you want some fries? And he just like the way he asks him is just so calm. And he's like looking at him like if he doesn't take these. It reminded me of the scene in Chappelle's Show when they do. I would be shocked if there wasn't inspiration from this movie with the Wayne Brady. I know it's Training Day, but with the Wayne Brady and Dave Chappelle skit when Wayne Brady takes Chappelle out and like it turns out that Wayne Brady's just like a fucking maniac. And he's like,
Brady gonna have
eat
to choke
he's
a
like,
bitch?
are you gonna eat your sandwich? He's like, I don't. He's like, no. He's like, eat your fucking sandwich. Like, so it just reminds me of that. But like,
All that, what you're saying, by the way, testament to Michael Rooker as an actor.
yeah,
Unbelievable.
he's stone cold, dude.
Stone Cold.
But
That is
he
one of
has-
the best scenes in the movie. is
he
'cause
has
it's
this
so fucking-
conversation with Otis after that scene where they get home, and he's talking with him, and he's like, "Listen, like, it comes down to kill or be killed.
Yeah.
Like everyone is gonna you're gonna have to kill somebody, and like he's like it's just you never do it the same way. This, that, and the other thing, and it's just like seeing Otis he's like the shell of a person. Like he's afraid.
Mhm.
And that's what makes it scary because someone that terrifying is still being rattled
Yeah.
by Henry killing
Someone
somebody.
that fucked up.
And it's just super intense. And then he goes, "Do you want a beer?" And he goes and he gets a beer and he opens it up and takes a sip and he just goes, "Sorry, there was only one left." it's just like it's the casualness, but like it's just fucked up.
That actually
how-
did make me laugh a lot.
Yeah. It's just fucked up how like nonchalant Henry is about hurting other people.
Yeah.
And that it's like it's a duty. Like he has to.
Duty.
He said
Yeah.
duty. Yeah.
That scene does reaffirm one fact that I've always known to be true, and I've tried to tell it to Craig because Craig's one of the only psychopaths I know that does this. He'll get a cheeseburger from McDonald's or a fillet of fish and drink a hot coffee with it, and I go, "That's the most psycho
That is
behavior
weird. Yeah,
I've
they
ever
were
seen."
drinking coffee.
And
yeah.
Michael Rooker is doing that, eating cheeseburgers with drinking a hot coffee, and I'm like, "Look at this psycho."
Yeah. That's funny.
I was like,
that
"It's
Craig-
so
of course Craig
weird."
does
Yeah,
that.
I'm like,
A
psycho.
fillet of fish with a hot coffee.
Oh,
Yeah.
so gross.
That's just a fucking toilet blaster, dude.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Takes a unique kind of
Newman's
person to be able
own
to eat that.
fucking
Yeah.
just
comedic relief break.
yeah. I figured it could lighten the mood a
Yeah,
little.
there's not very many laughs in this movie, but I did appreciate that part at least. That was a
I said he gets
that was a
the
good
one
little
beer.
respite. Yeah,
Yeah.
for like a couple of seconds. All right, so before we continue here, why don't we talk about the actual connections between Henry, Michael Rooker in this movie, and the actual serial killer that he's based on, who was named Henry Lee Lucas. And everything that I researched, he's very loosely based on Henry Lee Lucas, okay? As in the film, Henry Lee Lucas was acquainted with a fellow convict named Otis Toole, although in the film, the character's name is only given as Otis. Additionally, Lucas became the lover of Toole's 11-year-old niece, Frida Powell, who often went under the pseudonym of Becky. Although in the film, Becky is Otis's sister rather than his niece and is considerably older than Frida Powell.
Well, I'm glad they made that change at least.
Yup, me too.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Very much
They,
so.
they I think that they tried. It was considered, but they were like, we can't swing that.
So Henry did actually kill Becky.
Yeah.
In real life. Henry's mother did indeed work as a prostitute from her house, often forcing him to watch while she had sex and occasionally making him wearing a dress.
That's
That's
so fucked
fucking
up.
gross and
Yeah.
disgusting.
And you wonder why your kid's a serial killer.
Yep. Henry's father did indeed lose both of his legs in an accident, prior to which he had been a truck driver. However, the actions of the fictional Henry are inspired by not by his real crimes, but by his fabricated ones. So pretty much what they're saying is most of the stuff that you see in this movie is inspired by a bunch of crimes that he confessed to committing that he did not actually commit.
He had no proof.
He was a fucking
Yeah.
lying piece of shit.
Who's
in
to say
addition
that
to
he
a
didn't? Though? Just
murdering
because there's
piece
no
of shit.
proof that he
yeah.
did it, I still wouldn't be surprised if he did some of those things.
Well, let's put it this way, and then you can.
That's fucking
So, in prison, Henry Lee Lucas confessed to over 600 murders,
Which no one could do that.
claiming he committed roughly one murder a week from 1975 to 1983. However, the vast majority of these claims turned out to be false because he was lying to improve his conditions in prison, to get more perks, to get more food,
That
this
makes
type of
sense.
stuff.
He was like, I
Yeah.
think he was using. They'd let him like look at like crime evidence,
Yeah.
and he'd be like, yeah, no, yeah, see, like he would like grab like which is fucking insane.
Yeah.
That's bad police work.
Yeah.
That they'd let him have access to
Police
it.
work in the
He was
70s
looking
and
at,
80s
like
wasn't very good.
files and like crime scene files, and he was just being like, oh yeah, see, like I stabbed her, like or something like that. So.
Apparently, there was also an element of him realizing that he was getting famous in the public for all of these murders that he
True.
was, quote unquote, admitting to.
He definitely killed at least 10.
But he did. He was eventually convicted of 11 murders and sentenced to death for the murder of the Becky character from the movie. That was what he was.
Was
sentenced to
that
death
actually
for.
how he killed her though in the movie, or is that fabricated?
Doesn't say.
Because that
can't
was
see.
fucked up.
What?
We just put. Well, you don't see him kill, but he just leaves her in a fucking.
He does kill her.
No, he does kill, but you see her in the
Suitcase.
suitcase. Is that how they
Side of
found
the
her?
Doesn't
Oh,
say.
I don't know.
Doesn't say.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that's.
By the way, death sentence of this prisoner was commuted to life in prison by then Governor of Texas George W. Bush.
George W.
No way.
What about Otis?
Now
Did he,
watch this drive.
Did he get any?
I have no
life
info on
sentence?
Otis.
No Otis.
But Henry Lee Lucas did die in prison on March 13th of 2001 from heart failure.
Oh.
So
Wow.
kind of fucking insane. Obviously, like, killing a person from one person a week for like however many years, that's like insane.
Impossible.
How could you
I
not
mean,
get
it's not-
caught?
8 years.
Well, that if you don't get caught, then there's something really wrong with the
Yeah.
police force. They're just
That's correct.
non-existent, as if in the
It was in Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicago's not exactly the pinnacle of.
They're not looking for dead
rescue
hookers.
heroes. Yeah. So.
So
I don't think they're-
theoretically-
I don't think they're looking for fucking anybody.
They're just looking to not get killed
Yeah, they're
themselves.
trying not to
probably.
get killed themselves.
Well, I think that's a running theme with a lot of these movies from the early 80s where a lot
Yeah,
of the cities are
dumb
run down
cops,
and gross,
yeah.
like just dumb cops and people being murdered that nobody cares about. And
Even,
that's how people
um,
get away with it, which is, it's gross. Like,
Even Last House on the Left, Wes Craven he goes out of his way to show the two officers in charge that they're just like bumbling, like to the point that it's like slapstick how fucking stupid they are in the movie.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. So it's
Well,
definitely
like the
it's
cop and
definitely a
Butcher
thing.
Baker too. Those are terrible cops.
Yeah. So yeah, that guy was a piece of shit.
yeah. It's like one of the worst cops of
Yeah.
all time in movie history. What was your most? What did you find to be the most fucked up scene in this movie?
Yeah, we can get into that.
I mean, it's easily the videotape of the murder of the family. And then when it obviously you see the entire time that the camera angle is showing that it's being watched on a TV, and it just cuts to Henry and Otis just sitting there watching it.
Yeah.
Just smoking butts. The videotape itself was incredibly disturbing, but obviously the point to hammer it home as even more disturbing is when you see that it's them watching
Watching it
the
again.
crimes that
And
they
then being
committed.
Otis rewinding it, like I want to watch it again.
Well, then you see
Fucked.
Henry find him asleep, passed out on the couch with it on.
Yeah.
So he's just been watching it
Yeah.
over and over and
Yeah,
over.
I
again.
forgot about that. He gets
Yeah,
back
that's
and
what.
shit.
Well, that's what.
Jesus Christ. After
That's
the
where
steak
Henry
dinner,
decides.
That's where he's like, this guy's fucked.
I have to
Yeah,
kill this
yeah.
guy. Yeah.
So I feel like it very much reminded me of not as graphic in the original one that I'm going to talk about here, but it's very much reminded me in spirit of like the rape scene in A Clockwork Orange.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
I agree with you 100%.
Which that in and of itself, like at the time,
Two of the most. Those are both very intense home invasion
Kubrick,
scenes.
yeah,
So-
Kubrick knew what he was doing. I feel like they're kind of the exact same scene,
I imagine it's drawn inspiration from
Yeah.
Kubrick's movie. So
except in Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, there's a child that's involved. Thankfully, it's not like an infant or a toddler. That
No,
would have
he's
made
like a-
things so much worse.
Yeah,
it's like
he's
an
like a
actual
16-year-old,
Yeah.
12-year-old, yeah.
Still dies.
Still
It's
fucked
awful.
up.
snaps his neck.
It's still
Yeah.
awful.
Damn,
Just
dude.
the amount of neck
By the way-
breaks in this fucking movie.
Did research this when I was
Like
watching
Steven
the movie.
Seagal.
You know how they created the neck snapping sound effects that they used several times.
They probably did it on like a dead animal or something.
Stomping on a Solo cup directly next to
wow.
a microphone. That's how they did it.
That's tough.
Unbelievable. Fucking so
We should
creative.
try that. Let's go get a solo cup and stomp on it.
I don't think Shauna would be very happy with us if we did that.
It'd be like the fly in the background.
This movie also got an X rating, by the way.
Yeah.
Initially, was reduced to NC-17.
Why did it get an X rating?
Apparently because of
there's
these nudity,
incestual
sex,
rape.
I'm
rape,
joking,
incest,
yeah.
violence. Yes.
Oh, obviously this reason. He's
Yeah.
fucked. Yeah, and also like this is another one of those movies where like a lot of the scenes, I'm like, that guy, they really killed that person.
Yeah,
Like,
well, the thing. So for me, like as you said, like that scene's obviously fucked up.
Yeah.
The movie, the home movie scene is brutal. For me, it's the juxtaposition of between going from Henry seeing this lady walking this little like Yorkie or like whatever it is.
Yeah.
And again, like kind of another like funny exchange. Like you're just kind of like it's just like the people skills are just gone. Like there aren't any. So he's like, oh, like cute dog, like what's his name? And she's like, Dolores, like her name's Dolores, whatever. And then they chat, and then it just cuts to Otis just raping Becky on the floor.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, whoa, dude, like what the fuck? And that's as Henry is coming home, and that's where shit like really hits the fan, and like Henry loses his cool, which is, to me, that's the scariest part of the movie. When Becky's like he pulls Otis off of her and like stabs him in the eye and kills him. And she's like, what are you going to do? And he fucking like, cause she's the only person he's very like genuinely nice to, cares about. Like, it seems like he's protective of her.
Sure.
And he like snaps at her and screams at her. He's like, I don't know, like, shut the fuck up. Like, let me think. And it's just like, you're like, holy shit, dude. Like, it's just, it's such an intense.
I'm gonna go chop him up in the bathroom.
The whole thing's like 2.5 minutes long.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's like a 15-minute. It reminds me of the scene in Goodfellas when Karen and Henry are all fucked up on coke towards the end.
They would have never found
Yeah,
it,
dude, it's just
Karen.
this like crazy, like just blowout scene. But it only reminds me of it because I did just watch Goodfellas Sunday night. But
Great movie.
Watch that movie. That's
Yeah,
a
I was
movie I
just in the
watch
mood,
5
dude.
times a year. The fact that you watch this movie multiple times a year is insane. Insane.
I was just in the mood. But
Just
but
kidding,
that
yeah.
scene, that rape scene is really, really, really awful, and it's up there. This is like, it's only 8.5 minutes below.
Yeah, it's irreversible.
Irreversible
Hmm.
in terms of time, but it's right with it in terms of how vicious and awful it is. And that's the one part of the movie that I'm always like, ugh, like this fucking sucks.
Real quick. Okay, before we move on.
Well,
so
am I seeing it?
I was wrong. It was not a solo cup. It's a styrofoam cup being
Oh,
crushed.
that seems weird. I don't see how that's interesting.
And in addition, the sound of Henry cutting off Otis's head is a plastic mesh grapefruit bag being slowly torn open.
Interesting.
That's
Fucking
fucking
so
crazy.
weird.
That they were like, you know what? That sounds like.
It
Hold on,
sounds-
wait a minute.
That scene's fucking nuts too.
Yeah, that's gross.
So it was you. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, so
I have
you-
something for you. Go ahead first.
So you guys have those two scenes, which are obviously the most fucked up scenes of the movie. The other scene that kind of rubbed, like, because if I can't pick those scenes, that just was very uncomfortable, just because of just I mean, it's an uncomfortable scene. Is when she comes into the kitchen with the "I Love
shirt.
Chicago" shirt,
Dude,
and
so
she's like
weird.
putting it on, and Otis is like, she's like, "Don't look." I'm like, "The fuck are you doing?" And then she's like, "Go grab your brother a beer," and she walks by, and like tries to grab her tit or something, and
Yeah, he
Henry's
pulls-
like,
he
"No,
pulls-
Otis,
He pulls
Otis,
her in
no."
for a kiss.
Yeah, to kiss her. I'm like, Jesus
He's like, that's
Christ.
your sister.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
what are
what's
you
wrong
doing,
with
Otis?
you?
No.
Yeah. Otis, no.
And I'm like,
Words that have
"Ugh."
been uttered in this podcast.
Like, you have
many
to
a
be
time.
told not to look at your sister changing your shirt.
Well,
Fuck
that and
off,
it's
Ew.
it's sad.
It's very sad because
it's heartbreaking to hear what
because-
she's gone through her
yeah.
whole life between her like dad or stepdad, whatever it is.
And she never brings up her brother, so you have to wonder what he actually did too.
But you can see where
you can see he
it comes
definitely
from.
learned
Yeah.
it from her father.
Oh yeah.
From the father, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucking
it's
weird.
it's sad because and all she does is care about both of them and try to
Which
help
is
them.
wild. She's
Yeah.
like, she hears all these stories about him, and she's like falling in
Yeah,
love with it.
it's
I'm
crazy.
Like, that
It
just
could
goes
be
to
like
show
kind
how
of a
fucking damaged she is as a human being.
Exactly, and
Which is
it's like a Stockholm
Sad.
syndrome
It's
almost.
extremely
Yeah.
sad.
Very sad. By the way, so there has been a pretty famous urban legend associated with this movie for a long time. You guys heard about this? About the
You seen this? Have you heard about this?
the home invasion scene that was filmed, and obviously the big scene that everyone gets skeezed out about.
Bummed out about.
So after filming that scene, Tom Towles, who plays Otis, insisted that Lisa Temple, who plays the anonymous mom, go to the ER because he was actually convinced that he had snapped her neck when he fucking did that. Honestly, watching that,
It looks
Michael
fucking crazy.
Rooker wrestling
Yeah.
around with the kid. That's some incredible stunt work. I
Yeah.
thought that kid was fucking dead for real.
Yeah.
No, that's what this movie does. Every scene was
Unbelievable.
like the effects were amazing. Like the way that they did it, I was like, "Holy shit!"
Dude, the
they
way
just
her
cracked-
neck just
Yeah.
slams. Dude, it's like the foot scene in Misery.
Oh,
You're like,
Yeah.
there's no way that's
Yeah.
not real.
How's that look? But the actress herself, I guess, apparently was pretty confident at the time that there was no damage. She was not injured. But basically, for the guy that played Otis's peace of mind, she went to the hospital, received a clean bill of health, and over time, it's evolved into an urban myth involving that actress He didn't go to the hospital after being traumatized from filming that scene.
I feel like you have to kind of like as a human being be like, you just can you just go make sure you're okay?
Dude,
Because
that's
I'm
what-
pretending to like rape and murder you.
Yeah, that's what's wild to me. Like, I understand, like, you're an actor, you have to be able to do these certain types of roles. and stuff. I don't know. I don't know how people can do that type of role where you're like literally breaking your neck and just grabbing her breast, like
Licking her breast.
like
yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, like while she's dead,
While she's
sucking on her
pretending to be
nipples while she's
dead?
pretending to be
Oh
dead.
my God.
Like, I don't know how you'd be able to do that and not be like,
I
feel
can't
like
do
the
this.
biggest
Yeah.
piece of shit
Yeah.
that's ever walked planet Earth.
For what it's worth,
To be paid like at that role, probably what like
I meant
here's
to-
your-
a lot of
here's your
money.
$50.
Yeah.
meant to ask you guys about this. Apparently, there is a documentary about the making of this movie called "Portrait: The Making of Henry." Have
I
you
think
seen it, Matt?
no, I think it's attached to the Arrow releasing of this,
DVD.
which I'm
Okay.
dying to get. I just
Okay.
haven't got it yet.
Now
So
when you
she-
say Arrow release, I know
She
what
was
you're talking
interviewed
about.
for
Yeah.
that and said that that was all bullshit and that she was fine. She was treated respectfully. Like it
That's
just
Oh no, that's great. It's
Yeah.
just it's still
great,
like
obviously.
I've heard
I'm
very
glad
good
that it's-
things about like Michael Rooker as an actor and as a
Yeah.
person and as a man. So
Yeah,
it's
Well,
just, it's,
I feel like they
man,
wouldn't hire people to play these roles that
we're
you-
disrespectful.
that wouldn't
You
be able to
can't be,
handle the
yeah.
role. It's a
Right.
very
It's such a
sensitive
fucked
role.
up role. Yeah.
Yeah. But we
The
haven't talked
character of Otis. I remember watching this, and then it was definitely like in October back when I was like in high school, and I watched this, and then like a few days later, I was watching like House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects, and just being like, if you're Otis, you're a bad fucking dude.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's a bad guy name. Not to besmirch
no,
Otis, of
my
course,
my
but
dog is. A
Oh,
bad
because his
dog
name
most of
Otis
the time.
in House of a Thousand Corpses
Yeah.
too. I didn't realize that.
Not his name. Like Otis, like Bill Mosley's character.
Oh, his
Yeah.
name's
There's
Otis,
a character
yeah.
Otis.
Oh,
and
okay.
I would say this it was a perfect segue. This movie clearly inspired like Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
His works.
Yeah.
1000%. This
Well,
is
yeah,
a-
he cast that guy in this movie. It's probably
It's
like,
way
I
shittier
liked you in
dialogue.
that movie, yeah.
Ugh.
But we haven't talked about the best scene of the movie.
What's
The-
best scene?
television
affair.
salesman,
That scene
yeah.
is so fucking great.
It's
I'm sorry.
It's
I
wicked
love that
funny,
scene. I
dude.
love
arguably
that
the
scene.
one satisfying scene in the entire movie
Like,
because the character's such a douchebag and he's treating them with disrespect and eventually across the line and the music just changes like
Yeah.
it's like
that like big 80s like yeah.
Is it like a little welder thing that he's using?
soldering
It's
iron,
soldering
right?
iron, yeah,
Soldering
little
soldering
iron.
iron.
Yeah, a little
It's a
soldering iron.
sweater, yeah. He dude, when he fucking when he goes, he's like, you want to plug it in? He's like, down here. He's like, yeah, down there. And he's like, I can see you had some college. Like it's just like that line is fucking money. I've been using that line for years because it's
See, you had some
anytime anyone
college.
says something stupid, I'm like, yeah, dude, I can see you've had some college. Like,
Well, Mike was saying too, like during the making of that scene, that so they had the TV on the guy's head at first,
Mhm.
and then they filmed it in reverse. And they just took it off. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
classic move.
Classic.
And then I love he's
Classic.
like, plug it in.
plug it in.
But I love when he's like, they're standing there and they're kind of going over like what kind of TV that they can get. And he's like, you want 13, you want 16, 19. He's like, I bet you like to have 19 inches. And like Otis like cracks up and
Yeah.
like fucking like nudges him. It's just like, dude, this guy's just a fucking idiot. Like,
Well, that's also another thing about that scene that I like is it's similar to when Henry kills the hitchhiker that he picks up with the guitar.
yeah.
The second time they just show up back at the house with like something very expensive that's like, how'd you get this?
Yeah.
He comes in with a nice brand new acoustic
He's like, I
guitar.
got you
Then
this.
he's got this
Yeah.
like tape recorder, and she has no clue
Yeah.
what's going on. That like, oh, they just murdered someone.
Like, how do
and
they
brought
have
this
any
back.
money?
Yeah, they don't.
Like Otis works at like a gas station. Like,
Well, he sells
part-time.
weed
Yeah, I guess.
and then
so,
tries to
but, yeah.
have sex with the boys he sells.
which is also gross,
That
by
scene's
the way.
fucked up,
Oh
too.
my
Well,
god.
that's
Grab his
so
leg.
part of the thing. So there was like, I think I heard that it's like it was like deleted scenes or scenes that were written that never got filmed where Otis and Henry were like together in prison. Like that's
Oh.
supposed to be like implied.
butt buddies, huh?
Yeah, like
Interesting.
that they were together when they were in prison. But
Either-
that got either scratched or the scenes. I don't know if it was only written or if they filmed it and it was deleted. I don't. But I know that was like originally part of the story. So
Either of you gentlemen ever watched Oz, the original HBO TV series?
no, I've heard it's
No.
fucking brutal though.
Fantastic show. It's very brutal. Honestly, you would love it.
I know.
Um,
I should watch it.
It's great. It's definitely it feels dated at certain points, but
It's like late
great.
90s, right?
But it started like 96.
So-
ran through 2002,
Late
90s. Late 90s.
2003. Yeah, so yes, you're correct. I was just sorry, working through it in my brain. as I usually do. Yeah, but it's very like the relationship between those two. When you say that, I can kind of see it.
Well, there's a scene because that's why I really don't know if it's deleted scenes or if it's just written, but there's a scene where they're talking and Becky asks like, how did you guys meet? Like, and he's like, oh, like we knew each other in prison. And Otis kind of gives like this like glance and it just like kind of cuts quickly.
It's like, bro, you're not going to say we made love in prison.
We were
Like-
rimming each other, bro. But it's just like that. It's an interesting element that would have been added to the story.
Yeah, because then you can see like Henry's kind of getting jealous of Becky, or Otis is they're both getting jealous of each other.
Possibly, yeah.
There's like a jealousy.
Yeah.
thing
I
going on, which is
think
weird.
there's an element to what you're saying there for why it actually, why it escalated the way it did.
Well, that's the thing. So when we were talking about this before we recorded, how Otis's character arc is horrific because he's going to parole meetings, he's working, he's still kind of like a sleazeball, like he's selling
drugs,
weed, he's kind of
fine.
like being a creep, but he is not really doing anything.
He's on the up and
bad.
up
Yeah.
for what he would be.
And then Henry kind of exposes him to killing people, and dude, he just like spirals out of.
He's like, this is
control.
what I've been missing. my
Just
whole
needed
life."
one little opening.
Yep.
Yeah,
Then
like
I'm
to the
gone.
point that
Yep.
like someone pisses him off, and he's like, I want to go kill somebody, and like Henry takes him to like go kill a homeless guy.
Yeah, the kid that he tried to molest that punched
Yeah.
him in the face.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Or then
No.
they go just
Talks him
drive
out
and
of it.
they pretend
Yeah,
the
you can't
car's
have an
broken
attachment.
down.
Yeah, so
Break down, and the guy's like, "Hey, you guys need some help?" He's like, "Do we need help?"
That also is at that part an incredible self-awareness moment for Henry, where it's frightening how much he's saying like, hey, here's what you need to do to escape law enforcement, and just keep going, just keep doing. You want to keep doing this, do this.
well, that was part of the controversy of this
Oh
movie.
my
Is it's
God.
like you're like he's like all these like he's teaching people how to fucking kill people.
Mhm.
And that was like a lot of what made this movie so hard to be released. And
Makes
people
sense.
like because it's like you're giving people these ideas where it's like never kill people, you always do it like differently. Like you stab someone, you shoot someone, you break somebody's neck, you choke. Like that's what Richard Ramirez did. He killed people in different ways and of all ages and this, that, and the other thing. Richard Ramirez, in my
Night Stalker,
opinion, is
yeah.
the scariest
Yeah.
serial killer that ever lived.
Speaking of which,
Maxine.
can't fucking wait to see Maxine. Yep, absolutely. Go ahead.
But only because that Netflix documentary they have on him
That
called The
was
Night Stalker
really good,
is
yeah.
literally the most horrific documentary I've ever seen.
That might be the
like
best.
having that
very
guy just that
scary
guy's
documentary
peering
I've
through
ever
your
seen.
window.
Yeah.
Bro, like I was
Horrifying.
getting up for work in the morning. Like I get up when the wintertime is dark out when I go to work, and I'm like looking over my shoulder.
Dude, there's nothing
Fuck,
worse than
dude.
as a grown adult being terrified. Like
scared,
fucking
dude.
Mike the other night, we were out having a fire. It was like 10 o'clock at night. He puts on like the radio rental of like the Skinwalker fucking dude. And then I have to leave and walk up the hill to my car in the fucking pitch black. I'm like, oh,
Like,
perfect.
parked at the top?
Yeah. I literally got halfway and ran
Everyone,
up the
everyone
hill.
that
I
was
was like,
around the fire was like, hey, tell a scary story. And I was like, I can't tell
I'm
you
good for that,
one,
thank you.
but I can give you one.
No, yeah, that I was like,
And
why
I
are you
was like,
picking
I'm going
this
to put on
one?
the scariest radio rental story that I can think of
I
right
hate that
now,
one
which
so
I
much.
did. The Skinwalker one's very scary. I put on the doppelganger one after you left, and I put on
glad I fucking left.
the one with the guy from Boston that went to the redheaded girl with the wig. That one.
That's
What
Yeah,
about the
that's
one
a
with the
really-
little boy and the girl with the pack of
That's
cigarettes?
a really scary one too. I
Oh, like the
that one
ghost
scares the
is that
fuck
the
out of
ghost
me,
one?
dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
where
Yeah.
it wasn't actually a ghost; it was just the mom dressing
Oh,
up like a
that's
child.
right,
Yeah, fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That that podcast.
And he realizes it in a dream, dude,
Mhm.
like 30 years later.
Yeah.
It's so fucking scary.
The stories in that podcast are definitely hit or miss, but I listen to them religiously every day that they come out. A new
Me
episode
too.
comes out, I listen to them every day.
It's
And
perfect. I get it. I can get the whole thing in on my way to work.
it's
the
best way to
every
do it.
Friday.
Yeah, perfect.
But yeah, no. So anyway, so
Yeah, we got distracted.
back to
What else about Henry?
we were talking. I'm sorry. I
we were
completely
talking about
lost
the
track.
TV scene, and then we got off track. I think. Well, when they kill the guy in the TV place.
Well, we were talking about how
Then-
he it was teaching. They were worried it was going to tell people the correct way to kill people.
Oh,
basically,
yeah,
like,
that's
to
right,
evade
yeah.
cops, and law enforcement. And I guess that it makes sense. Back in that day,
Yeah, when you
could've
could do
made
pretty
sense.
much no DNA, everyone's just
Yeah.
like fucking jerking off on each other. Like, you'll never catch me.
I'm the jerk off man.
What is it? What is it?
Semen, wipe it off.
What is it? Super bad when Seth Rogen's like, I just figured there
I've
was going to
just
be
seen it
semen
on
everything.
everything.
Uh,
Not so, McLovin. Not so.
What was it? It was like I remember there was a John Mulaney skit about it, like back in the day. He was like, "Oh, what's this? Blood? Gross! Wipe that off. Get that out of here."
Yeah.
He's like, "Quick, draw a chalk line around him. Now we know where he was when he died."
No, this movie is it's a rough one for sure to come out. So this is what I wanted to get to. So this is not, and I think it's the tagline, like it's not Freddy, it's not Jason, it's Henry, or something like that along those lines. This is in a decade, and it's the decade's not even over. This is in '86. Just
Year
after,
of me and Andrew's birth, right?
I was
86?
85 technically.
Okay, so I was 86.
Technically.
Year of
Well, I
my
was
birth.
December 26th.
one or the other.
So
1986.
Still,
5
it was
days.
still, yeah.
Year that your boy was born.
technically.
Go ahead, Matthew. Sorry.
The 80s are wacky. You got a whole bunch of slashers. You got a whole bunch of crazy horror movies. There's thousands of them.
Mhm.
This, it's got to be the most dead serious one, and at least for killer movies.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
it's got to be the
I'd
most,
say so.
the most like just. This movie was like it came out in it felt like a 70s movie.
It has 70 vibes all
Yeah.
over it.
Because 70s movies were much more grounded. They were much more bleak. They were fucked up. And then the 80s kind of like they got gorier and crazier, but they were also like kind of
Well,
like
the 70s, you had all the
goofy,
exploitation
like-
films.
This
too.
this does feel like it's a grindhouse movie from
Yeah.
the 70s. Yeah.
It's like
easily.
Charles Bronson should be in this movie.
it's like
For
I'm like
sure.
racking my brain right now trying to think. There are movies that are very serious in the 80s that were made. Like The Changeling's very serious. The Shining is
but
very
for a
serious.
serial
Yeah,
killer,
but
like
The
an
Thing.
absolutely
The Thing
just
is very
like,
serious, yeah.
yeah,
But like the
that's not a-
effects are
like
so
the-
over the top.
but like
you know
the
what I
real,
mean? Like,
the reality of this movie.
yeah, this is something that it makes you feel like this is a
This
real.
is something
this is
that
real life.
if you're
Yeah.
a 20-year-old
For sure.
woman living in Chicago, I would never leave
Worst case scenario, yeah.
anywhere ever.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and, like this is the most realistic and grounded horror
Horror.
movie of the 80s, I
Horrifying.
think.
Absolutely horrifying.
And there was just nothing else like it because everything else was like Jason was resurrecting and Freddy's a night demon and like dream demon. Like it's just this was like a fucking like a 90s like TV thriller that came out. It was violent and obviously taboo as fuck. I don't think this was able to get released in like video until like 91.
So, quick question. Both movies we've covered on this podcast, obviously, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, or Maniac. What's more brutal?
This
I
is
think
much
this
more.
is-
This is more real.
This is
Easily,
more
yeah.
grounded.
Not even-
yeah,
not
like,
even
like,
question,
like
right?
Maniac is,
Maniac still kind of gets a little crazy.
but
at
it's
the
a
end.
little goofy.
Yeah, but they're very. This would it been fucking hell of a double feature, but
All,
they
all
would
I'd
pair
say,
well together.
Maniac, it's Tom Savini doing the effects, right?
Mhm.
This,
It doesn't feel like
you don't
there's-
know who's doing
it
the
doesn't
effects.
There
feel like-
are no effects.
It doesn't feel like
These
there's
people
special
are
effects.
being
This-
murdered.
yeah.
I'm still, I will die on that.
It
hill.
doesn't feel like there's special effects in
These
this
people are
movie.
dead.
But like Maniac, because me and
Nobody's alive but
Andrew,
Michael Rooker.
me and Andrew were like briefly talking. I don't know if we were on air at the beginning, or if it was before we recorded, but we were talking about how like it's that grimy city feel and
Mm.
how it's
Yes.
hand in
This
hand
is-
with
yeah,
Maniac.
we were live.
So,
yeah.
And also, yeah, same
Great
thing with
feeling.
the Bad Lieutenant. It's similar to that type
Yep.
of grimy
Maniac Cop.
Maniac Cop,
Mhm.
very grimy. Just grime. Just the
Yeah.
grime is oozing from the city streets as the people sleep.
Just reinforces my view.
Counting sheep.
Good Lord.
God damn, where's
Car-
Bo Peep?
Cars go beep.
I grew up 10 minutes from the city of Boston when I was growing up, and now I live as far away from Boston as I possibly can be. I can't
Yeah.
imagine any sort of no, obviously the city's not as
Boston's
bad right
pretty
now.
tame now.
I know, I'm saying that, but I just city life,
It's not for me.
not for me
either.
Nope,
Even if it wasn't like
not for me.
even outside of that idea of like like dangerousness and anything like that, it's too much.
I
It's too
like
busy.
having
I like peace and quiet.
I like peace and quiet. I like having country nearby. I like having
trees.
the water nearby.
I like a
I like
lawn.
having
Yeah.
like the downtown we have. That's perfect. That's all I need.
I lived downtown
there's
too.
re- yeah,
for
and it's
years,
not
it
even
was-
really
even
th-
that was like,
But
this
it's
is
not
too much.
really. It's very like mild. It's not a city atmosphere. It's just a nice, comfortable atmosphere.
Yeah.
I
Well,
almost
it's still
was
kind of a lot.
I was almost moved.
It's loud.
as soon as you
It's
said
loud.
that. That's the most sincere I've ever heard you in my entire life.
I need difference. It's like seasons. I need the 4 seasons. I can't just have summer or
Yeah.
just winter. Like I need something.
Well, you do have all 4. You live still.
No, I
live
know
in
that's what I'm saying.
Massachusetts.
Like I'm
You
saying,
could never
like,
move to, like,
I
Florida.
wouldn't live in Florida or
No, yeah.
Arizona. I'd rather or Alaska, like where it's just cold all the time. Maybe Idaho. No.
Mean lady
you
cops. running
are
around
wearing
killing
the
everyone.
Idaho Brewery hat right now. You love that place. They loved you, apparently, my friend.
They did. They asked me to come back every day. I get a call from Idaho.
Who's this Boston asshole coming up
Just
here?
a potato calling me. Where the fuck are you, bro?
They have all this vodka.
You guys want to hear about a couple of other horror movies that came out in 1986 before we
Yeah.
sign off?
Let's do
This
it.
evening, guys, big one. Fucking first and foremost. It's funny. Like all the research I do for this podcast, when I look up box office stuff and years for the movies, sometimes some of the biggest movies of the year don't come up as horror.
Can I interrupt you?
First
real-
one,
I just-
Aliens.
Before you go.
Go ahead.
Before you go.
Yeah.
I want to interrupt because you do a lot of research for this.
I do.
I peek
I
over
do.
your shoulder
I do.
every week
I
at
do.
what you write, and I just want to make sure. I don't think we give Mike enough appreciation.
Oh no,
for
I
everything
appreciate
that he
Mike. Mike
does
leads
because-
this bus
Yeah,
right down the road.
We got to give
to
Mike
each stop along the
give Mike
way.
his flowers
Picks up the
because
children.
He's got
throws
all this
them off the bus.
information
That's what
written
he needs to be
down,
done,
and
yeah.
he takes a good amount of time.
He does
to make
because
sure that
he
this
helps
is done.
steer the
So,
conversation in the
Yeah.
right direction. Otherwise, it would just be ranting and raving.
Yeah. So I
You know
just
what,
wanna-
the two of
I
you-
want to make sure that you knew that you were appreciated for that
Yeah.
because I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, Mike fucking works his ass off. For this.
I really appreciate you guys appreciating me. So that's all I needed.
Appreciation.
Thank you very much. Sometimes it's a lot.
It's
Sometimes
the little things.
especially with a big movie with a lot of like deeper meaning,
Yeah.
that type of thing. I'm like, oh god, this is a lot of research. I'm like, I'm writing down notes. I'm like, oh god, I'm scrolling through. I'm like, have we talked about this yet?
So I
don't
feel
think
bad
so.
when I
I'm
pick
like,
a movie that you're like, I fucking hated this.
no,
movie.
no.
Like when you guys hated Climax, I was like, I kind of was like, I don't care, but I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. Mike had to like dig into this.
Oh, I,
He
don't, I
didn't
just
even
can
like it.
show up.
There really
yeah,
wasn't
it's
even that
movie.
much. I mean, like I had to kind of go outside my usual sources to find stuff for Climax, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not a problem.
Aliens.
Guys, we no, I was gonna say we like talking about horror movies for this podcast, so it's fun for me to research this most of the time, unless it's something that I fucking can't stand. But
Which is very
this
few.
is not the case
very
tonight.
very few and far between.
Agreed. I actually had a really good time researching and figuring out, like, and seeing like some of the behind the scenes
Yeah.
stuff about this movie. It was
Good.
very
I'm
interesting.
glad
So
that you
that
enjoyed
was,
it, so.
believe me, not an issue. When Cat picked like, you know, Hocus Pocus or something like
Well,
that.
see,
I'm like,
that's what
yeah,
bothers me.
yeah.
Like, I like movies where there's deeper meaning. We can
Yeah,
talk about more stuff because you can only talk about Hocus
that's an
Pocus.
Andrew pick.
You can- yeah,
Absolutely.
you can only talk about
Yes.
Hocus Pocus for like
You
10 minutes.
love your mother-in-law. You love your mother-in-law and deeper meaning. All right. Anyway, I digress.
I don't know if anyone knows what we're talking
Aliens, guys.
about. I don't know. I don't have a mother-in-law. I'm
You don't
single.
have a mother-in-law. I know it was a joke. It was from. I think
That
it's
is
Reed.
correct, Andrew.
That's correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
we're the
correct.
latest
Andrew is single.
Bachelor.
Ladies, if you can believe it, Andrew and
As he
his ass
bends over
crack
with his bat,
that I'm
his
looking
butt
at right
crack hanging
now,
out.
My belly hanging over.
and he's beautiful. I'd fuck him right now if I were you, girls.
Man, if I
mean, I'd. Oh, Andrew, do
I
that
bet you
again.
Otis.
Do that again. Otis from the movie, yes.
Yeah, I was like, what do you mean?
Otis, my dog,
Not Otis,
probably
your
not.
dog.
And I would hope not. Guys, is Aliens the best sequel to a horror movie ever?
Oh, we had
Ballpark. We don't need to have a long conversation about this. Like, it's in the ballpark, right? It's in like the stratosphere.
I don't want to answer because I'm gonna say no because I like other horror sequels better than
Andrew,
I would say no too.
fair.
It's
it's
good.
great. It's fantastic,
yeah.
but it's just not my favorite.
It's clearly not
Yeah.
as much of a horror movie though as
Correct.
the Ridley Scott one,
Yeah.
which I think takes points away. So I think it's a great sequel. Best horror sequel? I don't know.
Do you want to know what my favorite horror sequel is?
Go.
Do you want to guess what it is?
It is. Let me guess.
Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer 2.
No, no.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. No,
Am-
that's not it.
Amityville
Nope,
2, The
not even
Possession.
close. No,
Oh, Amityville 2, The Possession.
Ooh,
Have we
I
done?
will-
talked about
Have
that
we
on
done?
Wicked
Have we
Times.
done a sequel draft?
No, we haven't. No,
Yes,
we've
we
done a
did. We
sequel
just-
draft.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he probably.
We've just never covered that particular movie on a podcast.
Yeah,
I
but
would,
did you
too.
pick? You picked that though. You must have.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Guys, we also got Chopping Mall in 1986.
Awesome.
That movie's fucking awesome.
That's wild. Has nothing to
Fantastic.
do with chopping anything. It's just robots. But yeah.
Whoever was
They're
in
just like
charge.
shopping, chopping,
Yeah. The marketing
popping,
team for that movie.
Hop
is
on,
fucking
pop.
out their mind.
Seriously.
popping
Should have
on
been
chopping.
fired.
Yeah.
Should have been fired big time.
Very
we also,
confusing. Very confusing.
we also got Critters. Dead Time Story. Critters obviously being a
Critters is fun.
rip off of
Gremlins.
Gremlins, for sure.
Gremlins.
But it's still fun. Guys, the only other movie from 1986 that we've covered on this podcast, which would be David Cronenberg's The
Oh, yeah.
Fry. I wouldn't hurt a fry.
I wouldn't even try
I wouldn't even try that fry. Good old Jeff Goldblum. Matthew, Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives.
Great.
Chef's kiss, as he just gave into the abyss. Stuart Gordon Gem, From Beyond,
Awesome.
1986.
Great.
Chef's kiss
Great
again.
movie. I talked about this on the Fly episode. Gothic, which is a Ken Russell directed movie starring Gabriel Byrne and Natasha Richardson. To which I say, I haven't seen it.
To which I say,
Sounds interesting, though.
also I don't know.
Twitch.
In 86, we also got Haunted Honeymoon, which is a horror comedy with Gene Wilder and Gilda Radner.
Really? Yeah, I've never even heard of that movie.
I mean, I don't know, watch that.
That had to
too.
have been right before she died.
Had to have been. Gilda Radner.
The love of his life.
Gilda Radner was, to this day, my dad will tell you. If you ask him about 80s Saturday Night Live, I know my
And
dad
70s.
and your dad,
Yeah.
70s and 80s
Yeah.
SNL, excuse me, grew up in the same town together, roughly, at the same time.
Mhm.
My dad always says Gilda Radner and John Belushi were his two favorite SNL personalities ever.
They're
Which,
fucking legends.
yeah, huge stuff. So anyway, we also got Hitcher in 1986.
I like that movie.
Rutger Hauer.
Love.
Let's see. Invaders from Mars. Stop me if you have comments on this movie. I'm just going to keep running through this. If you have something to say about this movie,
I like the original one better. The 50s one.
Invaders from Mars.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Little Shop of Horrors.
I like
starring
this one better than the
John
50s.
Candy. That's correct. The only Stephen King directed horror movie, Maximum Overdrive, also came out in 86.
Poop.
Nope. Dump. Night of the Creeps.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs
Night
up
of the
from
Creeps. I don't know if I've
Matthew.
seen that movie.
It's good.
Good
It's
one.
funny. Tom
Is it-
Atkins. You can't go wrong.
Tom Atkins, as
Yeah.
usual.
Give me some Tom.
Let's see. Poltergeist 2, The Other Side.
Fantastic sequel.
Good sequel.
That's
Is
what-
it
speaking of
very
good
good
I don't think I've
sequels,
actually
yeah.
seen that one.
Very good sequel. Psycho 3.
Meh.
Mm.
I own it,
Definitely
but
didn't.
Psycho
so
2 is way better.
yeah,
Andrew?
Psycho 2 sick.
Rawhead Rex, 1986.
That's an all right movie.
It's your Clive Barker.
No, I know, but it's,
Bro.
I don't have.
He's like, you know, like
it's great.
Sorority House Massacre.
Great
I've
slasher.
never seen that
Okay.
movie.
Thumbs up from Matthew. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Another great sequel. Love
Yep.
that movie.
Thumbs up from Matthew. And Troll. Not
Poop.
the oh my god, but the one before the
Still
oh my
poop.
god. Yeah. Just so we know, by the way, just as we're interested in these sorts of things. We did talk about this on the Fly episode, so not a huge thing here. Guys, what was the highest grossing movie of 1986?
I already saw it, so I'm not gonna say it.
Andrew? It's a movie you love that you saw a sequel to very recently.
Oh, Top Gun.
Top Gun. Followed by Crocodile Dundee, Karate Kid Part 2, Back to School, Aliens, The Color Purple, Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, Ruthless People, Out of Africa, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off,
Oh my!
rounding out the
viewers.
top 10 of
Sloane.
1986.
I talked about her on the Fly episode too. I
Sloane-
always had a crush on her. Yeah.
Sloane Peterson. She was hot.
Sloane
Was
Pe-
she ever in like
gorgeous, dude.
anything else
I don't know.
besides? That's all right.
She was beautiful in that movie.
We can research this on our own time. She did have Andrew would have liked her. She had big old doe eyes.
She
Very
did.
pretty.
Very,
Yeah.
very pretty.
old
Very
eyes.
pretty.
All right, gentlemen. Anything else to say on doe eyes? On
Oh, yeah.
Henry,
I was
Portrait
like,
of a
and then I
Serial
had, I was
Killer?
like, oh yeah.
On Michael Rooker?
So,
On horror movies of the 80s? On slashers? On how many? Modelo, Limon, salts we've drank tonight? Anything else we want to say before we sign off for this evening?
I'm good. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
I
Okay.
appreciate you guys. Well, Andrew, obviously you like this movie. I'm like,
Yeah, I
you-
put on
this
the,
was
I
this
put
was
on
more of
the
a
second one
uh,
afterwards. I was like,
yeah.
Listen,
This was more of an exercise for you to have to go through. But
It's okay.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't like it doesn't mean that I can't respect the experience.
this is worse than House that Jack built.
No, I actually like.
Well, I'm
House,
talking- I'm
I like
talking-
the,
I'm
I like
talking-
House that Jack built way better than this movie.
I'm talking like
Oh,
not
I
like
like that
not
movie
like
better
liking
too.
it, but like being like too
Disgusted.
much to.
This
handle.
was the worst. Yeah.
okay, so this was the
worst.
most
Yeah.
disgusted you've been watching a movie.
Okay.
Probably since the final scenes of when fucking Speak No Evil.
Oh,
think.
Okay.
Wow.
think.
Okay, Andrew. What about what? Obviously, you like this movie, so I don't think I've struck a nerve with you yet this year. On anything.
It's very hard to strike a nerve with me. I'm almost like desensitized to everything.
I mean,
You're gonna make me have to pick like a Serbian film.
Baskin didn't bother me. Like,
That's not that bad. No.
House that Jack built didn't really bother me.
Nothing really bothers me. I'm fucked.
I mean, I feel like this also didn't really bother me. It was just
It's tough. It's
hard,
it's
and like
realistic.
I wouldn't rewatch it. That's what I'm saying.
I
guess.
don't know. I'm trying to think what bothers me. Like, yeah, I mean, the end of Speak No Evil bothered me a little bit, but it still was just like, eh. It was one. It was.
You don't have a kid.
I had to watch one episode.
Yeah.
One episode of Seinfeld, and I was like, hey, that was fine. So
Yeah,
Oh,
when you
we
have
should
when you have a
do
child,
that
it's-
this year.
Yeah.
Speak No Evil before the new one comes out.
do what?
Speak No Evil.
Oh, we haven't done that.
No.
We have not. We only
We
talked
only
about
talked
it on
about
our
our-
end of
That's the
era.
only movie I've never been able to rewatch. Yeah,
I haven't.
Wow.
I haven't. I haven't
Yeah.
found
Wow.
the need to rewatch it.
That's one way to
True.
put it. Yeah.
That's all- yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Probably the first time
I'll
I'm
never-
going to rewatch
Because
this
that's a
story
movie
is
that
the
I'll
James
never.
McAvoy
I'll
version.
never forget that movie. So I don't need to rewatch. I can relive it in my head. Not that I want to. but
Yeah, the sound effects of that.
I'm
Right,
actually looking
anyways,
forward
yeah.
to seeing how the new one comes out. I'm curious.
Yeah.
All right, so that means we're done with Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Anyway, it's been another episode of America's Hometown Horror. Thanks so much for checking back in with us, Matt. Nice pick. Led to some very good discussion, I think.
I'm
even
glad.
though,
Thank you.
you know,
Very enjoyable.
I can very much appreciate it, even though I didn't
Yeah,
think that
you know
this
what,
movie
dude,
was for me. I
it's a
can still
rough fucking
appreciate
movie,
it.
dude.
I can appreciate its greatness, even though it made me want to die.
It is a rough movie.
All right. Well, hey, guys, come tune back in next week for another episode. We'll be talking about a monster movie as opposed to this craziness. Gentlemen, I mean, hey, say goodbye to your listeners.
Goodbye, listeners.
Goodbye,
Pasta
listeners.
pasta.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Hey everyone, it's Mike from America's Hometown Horror, and I want to say thanks again for listening to another episode of our show. If you're interested in more local Plymouth podcasts, I'd highly recommend you check out the shows from our friends over on the Inebriart Podcast Network. In addition to America's Hometown Horror, you can find shows from Inebriart, the Old Colony Cast, Bar Talk, Theme Park Legends, and Retro Redoctopus, so head on over and give them a listen.